Hi everyone, welcome back to this video series on Windows Server 2012, an overview of OUs. An organizational unit, OU, is a logical group of active directory objects. Just as the name implies, OUs serve as containers in which active directory objects can be created, but they do not form part of the DNS namespace. They are used solely to create organization within a domain. OUs can contain the following types of active directory objects: users, groups, computers, shared folder objects, contacts, printers, inter-org person objects, Microsoft messaging queuing, MSMQ, queue aliases, other OUs. Perhaps the most useful feature of OUs is that they contain other OU objects. As a result, system administrators can hierarchically group resources and objects according to business practices. The OU structure is extremely flexible and, as you will see later in this chapter, can easily be rearranged to reflect business reorganizations. Another advantage of OUs is that each can have its own set of policies. Administrators can create individual and unique group policy objects, GPOs, for each OU. GPOs are rules or policies that can apply to all of the objects within an OU. GPOs are discussed in detail in Chapter 6, Manage GPOs. Each type of object has its own purpose within an organization of Active Directory domains. Later in this chapter, you will look at the specifics of user, computer, group, and shared folder objects. For now, let's focus on the purpose and benefits of OUs. The purpose of OUs. OUs are mainly used to organize the objects within Active Directory. Before you dive into the details of OU, however, you must understand how OUs, users, and groups interact. Most importantly, you should understand that OUs are simply containers that you can use to group various objects logically. They are not, however, groups in the classical sense. That is, they are not used for assigning security permissions. Another way of stating this is that the user accounts, computer accounts, and group accounts that are contained in OUs are considered security principles, while the OUs themselves are not. OUs do not take the place of standard user and group permissions. A good general practice is to assign users to groups and then place the groups within OUs. This enhances the benefits of setting security permissions and using of OU hierarchy for making settings. Figure 5.1 illustrates this concept. An OU contains objects only from within the domain in which it resides, as you'll see in the section Delegating Administrative Control later in this chapter. The OU is the finest level of granularity used for group policies and other administrative settings. Benefits of OUs. There are many benefits to using OUs throughout your network environment. OUs are the smallest unit to which you can assign directory permissions. You can easily change the OU structure, and it is more flexible than the domain structure. The OU structure can support many different levels of hierarchy. Child objects can inherit OU settings. You can set group policy settings on OUs. You can easily delegate the administration of OUs and the objects within them to the appropriate users and groups. Planning the OU structure. One of the key benefits of Active Directory is the way in which it can bring organization to complex network environments. Before you can begin to implement OUs in various configurations, you must plan a structure that is compatible with business and technical needs. In this section, you will learn about several factors you should consider when planning the structure of OUs. Logical grouping of resources. The fundamental purpose of using OUs is to group resources hierarchically. Fortunately, hierarchical groups are quite intuitive and widely used in most businesses. For example, a typical manufacturing business might divide its various operations into different departments as follows: sales, marketing, engineering, research, development, support, information technology. Each of these departments usually has its own goals and mission to make the business competitive. Individuals within each of the departments are assigned to various roles. The following role types might be used: managers, clerical staff, technical staff, planners. Each of these roles usually entails specific job responsibilities. For example, managers should provide direction to general staff members. Note that the very nature of these roles suggests that employees may fill many different positions. That is, one employee might be a manager in one department and a member of the technical staff in another. In modern workplace, such situations are quite common. All of this information helps you plan how to use OUs. First, the structure of OUs within a given network environment should map well to the business needs, including the political and logical structure of the organization, as well as its technical needs. Figure 5.2 shows how a business organization might be mapped to the OU structure within an Active Directory domain. When naming OUs for your organization, you should keep several considerations and limitations in mind. Keep the names and descriptions simple. The purpose of OUs is to make administering and using resource simple. Therefore, it's always a good idea to keep the names of your objects simple and descriptive. Sometimes finding a balance between these two goals can be a challenge. For example, although a printer name like the LaserJet located near Bob's Cube might seem descriptive, it is certainly difficult to type. Also, imagine the naming changes that you might have to make if Bob moves or leaves the company. Pay attention to limitations. The maximum length of the name of an OU is 64 characters. In most cases, this should adequately describe the OU. Remember, the name of an OU does not have to describe the object uniquely, because the OU is generally referred to only as part of the overall hierarchy. For example, you can choose to create an OU named IT within two different parent OUs. Even though the OUs have the same name, users and administrators are able to distinguish between them based on their complete path name. Pay attention to the hierarchical consistency. The fundamental basis of an OU structure is its position in a hierarchy. From a design standpoint, this means you cannot have two OUs with the same name at the same level. However, you can have OUs with the same name at different levels. For example, you could create an OU named Corporate within the North America OU and another one within the South America OU. This is because the fully qualified domain name includes information about the hierarchy. When an administrator tries to access resources in a corporate OU, they must specify which corporate OU they mean. For example, if you create a North America OU and a Canada OU should logically fit under it. If you decide that you want to separate the North America and Canada OUs into completely different containers, then you might want to use more appropriate names. For example, you could change North America to US users and administrators depend on the hierarchy of OUs within the domain, so make sure that it remains logically consistent. Understanding OU inheritance. When you rearrange OUs within the structure of Active Directory, you can change several settings. When they are moving and reorganizing OUs, system administrators must pay careful attention to automatic and unforeseen changes in security permissions and other configuration options. By default, OUs inherit the permissions of their new parent container when they are moved. By using the built-in tools provided with Windows Server 2012 R2 and Active Directory, you can move or copy OUs only within the same domain. You cannot use the Active Directory users and computers tools to move OUs between domains. To do this, use Active Directory Migration Tool, ADMT. This is one of the many Active Directory support tools. Delegation, administrative control. I already mentioned that OUs are the smallest component within a domain to which administrative permissions and group policies can be assigned by administrators. Now you'll take a look specifically at how administrative control is set on OUs. Businesses generally have a division of labor that handles all of the tasks involved in keeping the company's network humming. Network operating systems, NOSS, however, often make it difficult to assign just the right permissions. In other words, they do not support very granular permission assignments. Sometimes fine granularity is necessary to ensure that only the right permissions are assigned. A good general rule of thumb is to provide users and administrators with minimum permissions they require to do their jobs. This way, you can ensure that accidental, malicious, and otherwise unwanted changes do not occur. In the world of Active Directory, you delegate to define responsibilities for OU administrators. As a system administrator, you will occasionally be tasked with having to delegate responsibility to others. You can't do it all, although sometimes administrators believe they can. You understand the old IT logic of doing all of the tasks yourself for job security, but this can actually make you look worse. When you are considering implementing delegation, keep these two concerns in mind: parent-child relationships. The OU hierarchy you create will be important when you consider the maintainability of security permissions. OUs can exist in a parent-child relationship, which means that permissions and group policies set on OUs higher up in the hierarchy. Parents can interact with objects in the lower level OUs children. When it comes to delegating permissions, this is extremely important. You can allow child containers to inherit the permissions set on parent containers automatically. For example, if the North America division of your organization contains 12 other OUs, you could delegate permissions to all of them, saving time and reducing the likelihood of human error by placing security permissions on the North America division. This feature can greatly ease administration, especially in larger organizations, but it is also a reminder of the importance of properly planning the OU structure within a domain. Inheritance settings. Now that you've seen how you can use parent-child relationships for administration, you should consider inheritance, the process in which child objects take on the permissions of a parent container. When you set permissions on a parent container, all of the child objects are configured to inherit the same permissions. You can override this behavior. However, if business rules do not lend themselves well to inheritance, applying group policies. One of the strengths of the Windows operating system is that it offers users a great deal of power and flexibility. From installing new software to adding device drivers, users can make many changes to their workstation configurations. However, this level of flexibility is also a potential problem. For instance, inexperienced users might inadvertently change settings, causing problems that can require many hours to fix. In many cases, and especially in business environments, users require only a subset of the complete functionality the operating system provides. In the past, however, the difficulty associated with implementing and managing security and policy settings has led to lax security policies. Some of the reasons for this are technical. It can be tedious and difficult to implement and manage security restrictions. Other problems have been political. Users and management might feel that they should have full permissions on their local machines, despite the potential problems that this might cause. That's where the idea of group policies comes in. Simply defined, Group policies are collections of rules that you can apply to objects within Active Directory. Specifically, group policy settings are assigned at the site, domain, and OU levels, and they can apply to user accounts and computer accounts. For example, a system administrator can use group policies to configure the following settings: restricting users from installing new programs, disallowing the use of the control panel, limiting choices for display and desktop settings, creating OUs. Now that you have looked at several different ways in which OUs can be used to bring organization to the objects within the Active Directory, it's time to look at how you can create and manage them through the use of the Active Directory Users and Computers Administrator tool, also called the MMC, Microsoft Management Console. You can quickly and easily add, move, and change OUs. This graphical tool makes it easy to visualize and create the various levels of hierarchy an organization requires. Figure 5.3 shows a geographically based OU structure that a multinational company might use. Note that the organization is based in North America and it has a corporate office located there. In general, the other offices are much smaller than the corporate office located in North America. It's important to note that this OU structure could have been designed in several different ways. For example, I could have chosen to group all of the offices located in the United States within an OU named US. However, because of the large size of these offices, I chose to place these objects at the same level as the Canada and Mexico OUs. This prevents an unnecessarily deep OU hierarchy while still logically grouping the offices. One nice feature when creating an OU is the ability to protect the OU from being accidentally deleted. When you create an OU, you can check the Protect Container from Accidental Deletion checkbox. This checkbox protects against an administrator deleting the OU. To delete the OU, you must go into the advanced view of the OU and uncheck the box. Exercise 5.1 walks you through this process of creating several OUs for multinational business. You'll be using this OU structure in later exercises within this chapter. Exercise 5.1, creating an OU structure. 1, click the window key on the keyboard and choose Administrative Tools. 2, open Active Directory Users and Computers Administrative Tool. 3, right-click the name of the local domain and choose New Organizational Unit. You will see the dialog box shown here. Notice that this box shows you the current context within which the OU will be created. In this case, you'll be creating a top-level OU, so the full path is simply the name of the domain. 4, type North America for the name for the first OU. Uncheck the box Protect Container from Accidental Deletion and click OK to create this object. 5, create the following top-level OUs by right-clicking the name of the domain, choosing New Organizational Unit. Also make sure to uncheck Protect Container from Accidental Deletion for all OUs in these exercises, because you will be deleting some of these OUs in later ones: Africa, Asia, Europe, South America. Note that the order in which you create these OUs is not important. In this exercise, you are simply using a method that emphasizes the hierarchical relationship. 6, create the following second-level OUs within the North America OU by right-clicking the North America OU and selecting New Organization Unit: Austin, Boston, Canada, Chicago, Corporate, Los Angeles, Mexico, New York, San Francisco. 7, create the following OUs under the Asia OU: China, India, Malaysia, Vietnam. 8, create the following OUs under the Europe OU: France, Germany, Spain, UK. 9, create the following OUs under the South America OU: Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Peru. 10. Create the following third level OUs under the India OU by right-clicking India within the Asia OU selecting new organization unit Bombay, New Delhi. 11. Within the North America corporate OU, create the following OUs: engineering, HR, marketing, research, sales. 12. When you have completed creating OUs, you should have a structure that looks similar to the one in the left pane shown here. Managing OUs. Managing network environments would still be challenging even if things rarely changed. However, in the real world, business units, departments, and employee roles change frequently. As a business and technical needs change, so should the structure of Active Directory. Fortunately, changing the structure of OUs within a domain is a relatively simple process. In the following sections, you look at ways to delegate control of OUs and other changes. So I'm going to leave it here today for this video. If you like listening, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you.